I'm CEO of Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation. We've been around since 1971. At that time, we took 3 former clinic trailers, pulled them together, put a common roof over, and started our first clinic in Leslie County. Since that time, we've grown. We now have 12 primary care clinics. We serve over 53,000 people, over 327,000 encounters a year.
The RAISE program started so we could keep valuable employees while helping them attain their educational goals, which in our world means reach, achieve, inspire, support, and employ. RAISE is designed so that anybody that wants to go to school, there are no barriers. We ensure that there is free tuition. We work with their work schedule, so there's always a full payday. We also work with the mentorship with the other employees. I think that's a key component because you're going back to school and doing it with other people who didn't think they could either. And so it's that camaraderie that I really think helps this program succeed because you're not doing it alone. You've got the support of the company, you've got support of your peers, and you get to do what you've always dreamed of doing. We originally just started with the MA, which is a medical assistant program. We partnered with the University of Louisville to do an apprenticeship for it, and we partnered with the local KCTCS system to do the education part. And we've done the apprenticeships ourselves and trained with our own staff. I think that was highly successful. But we didn't stop there. We went on and added up to 16 apprenticeships, and we currently have partners from the University of Louisville, University of Kentucky, KCTCS, University of Pikeville, University of the Cumberlands, Morehead State University, Eastern Kentucky University, and we are in communication with other universities to bring everyone on board so the students can literally go where they want to go and do what they want to do.
We meet the student where they are, and we help the student to identify their career interest. And that's the unique thing of MCHC is they already have these employees. So they have employees captured in the healthcare industry. Their interest is already there, but they determine that maybe they love their job but want to do more. You know, they want to upskill and expand their opportunities in the market. So with the plethora of opportunity that we have the ability to on-ramp and off-ramp students where they are in life. So we may have students who start in a billing position, and maybe that student decides they want to go to LPN school. Maybe they want to go on to RN school. So it really is, again, that upward mobility for students based on the life that they have, where they are, and what they're willing to commit to.
The MCHC RAISE program, I'm currently taking the Healthcare Leadership Business track. It has allowed me to get my bachelor's degree free that I would have never done before. I've been promoted from the Director of Health Information to the Whitesboro Clinic Administrator during this process, and it will have an increase in pay as a result of that.
The RAISE program has impacted myself as my family in the means that I've not had to move around for schooling, I've not had to travel. It has allowed me to keep the current work schedule that I have and allowed me to advance at the same time. Not only has it impacted me, it's impacted the company as a whole, because the more I learn, the more I'm able to do, the more impact I'm going to have on my departments and other departments that work alongside mine.
I had intentions on completing my BSN, but life happened, kids happened, grandkids now happened, and then the RAISE program was presented to me, and I thought, I'm just too old to go back to school. Like, I'm going to be 50 next year. It's too late. No, but it's not too late, because in May I'll graduate with my BSN thanks to the Mountain Comp RAISE program.
It's a big deal to me because for a long time I thought that I would be stuck in an entry-level position because of, financial reasons, but because of MCHC, I get to work full-time, and every year I have something to look forward to. I hope to continue the steps until I reach a nurse practitioner.
It was something that I've always said I wanted to do, and with some really close friends who are registered nurses here, with their encouragement, they're like, come on, Melissa, you can do this, you can do this. And some supervisors that said, I believe you can do this, you're going to be really good at this. I completed the program, and I'm just so happy. I love my job. I work in family medicine with Dr. Breeding. Love it over there. I love the whole staff, and I just fit right in right over there with them, so I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
This gave me the chance to go back, still keep my job, and learn on my own time, and Mountain Comp paid for it, so that gave me the ability to still financially be able to afford it. So I'm learning more, that I'll be able to move up and do more of the administrative side of it.
We're giving people the opportunity to achieve and excel and reach goals that they have set but may not have otherwise been able to reach due to socioeconomic status or issues. So the RAISE program automatically increases morale because we're able to offer them that opportunity, which I think automatically makes better workers. It increases loyalty to the company, so it increases the amount of time that we have to spend training, retraining because of turnover, because people are loyal and they stay.
We're getting sometimes hundreds of applications, especially for our entry-level positions, where people are just wanting to get in here. And one of the interview questions I ask every candidate is, what made you apply for this position with MCHC? And probably 90% of the time they say, I've just heard that it's a great place to work and I've heard about your RAISE program and the educational opportunities that you offer. So that has become a pretty common answer to that, and I almost expect it now, especially with ones that come in and say that their desire is to become a nurse, or that their desire is to become an accountant, or follow one of those paths. I almost know automatically that their reason for applying for MCHC is going to be the RAISE program.
We've taken employees that we've already had in base level positions and given them the education and the foundation they needed to upskill to other positions that we have available and positions that we've maybe struggled to fill.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm Leslie Sizemore. I work with the Council on Post-Secondary Education, and my role is the workforce development person. So I'm the Associate Vice President for Workforce and Economic Development, and I was hired to really start in the area of healthcare. So we have expanded our workforce initiatives to include a lot of other areas, not only healthcare, but our first big bang happened with our healthcare workforce initiatives. And if you remember, Dr. Thompson talked about one of our first strategies with developing workforce innovation in the state was through our Healthcare Workforce Collaborative. And with that appropriation initially of $10 million, we were able to grant our higher education institutions, our public institutions, some financial seed money, if you will, to really dream out their dreams and to establish some of these innovative programs that would build workforce. One of the main components that we required with that was healthcare partnerships from the higher education institution with other higher education institutions, like 2 years to 4 years. We required our industry partners, so our hospitals and our clinics, to be partnered with higher education institutions, and we required partnerships with K-12. So we understand that this is a continuum that we have to build really from cradle to grave. So as long as we can start exploring healthcare careers with younger students and then allowing them some on and off ramps to higher education, then they will have the opportunities to grow and to develop and to really establish a portfolio of their career choices that they've made. So one of the neat things that I've been able to do through this work is that I've been able to travel to different institutions and meet people who are doing this work in the healthcare arena. And I was able to travel really far east and go into the area for Mountain Comprehensive Health Organization. And this is an incredible group of employers. They have clinics all over. Benny, I'm not sure how many clinics that there are now, but
we cover 7 counties in Kentucky and 1 in Virginia.
7 counties in Kentucky and 1 in Virginia. So we started out in Whitesburg, and that was where I met them. Now I feel like I can call them my friends. I have had so many meals with them now and really done a lot of work to establish some opportunities and ideas for workforce development in the area. So I'll start with some introductions. Benny McCall is the Chief Workforce Officer at MCHC. Teresa Dotson, here on the end, is the Director of Financial Affairs at MCHC. Stephanie McComb is the Director of Quality Improvement, there in the blue suit. And then on the end is Dr. Heather Mitchell, the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Programs at the University of Louisville. So we brought all this to you so that you wouldn't have to travel, Dr. Mitchell, right here at U of L. But I'm going to ask some questions of these folks so that you can better understand how they have been able to utilize this partnership between higher education and the healthcare setting, the healthcare employer, to really be able to skill up folks in their community and essentially build their own workforce there. I am from a mountain area myself. I'm from Clay County, which is not terribly far from them. And so we're going to call ourselves the Cornbread Panel. So when you hear us talk, you're going to understand why, because we all talk the same. And so, I hope that you'll be both informed and entertained by our discussion. Benny, I'm going to ask the first question of you. What inspired Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation to create the RAISE program, and what workforce gaps does it aim to address in the healthcare sector?
Well, if you don't mind, Leslie, I'm going to let Teresa answer that.
Okay, that'd be great.
If that's okay.
You want to turn on your mic, make sure the green light is on.
Test. Can you hear me? It's on.
Okay.
Test. I'll let you answer that.
We actually had a huge issue with losing our employees because they wanted to go back to school. Stephanie's a prime example, actually, that, and she'll tell her story in a little bit. But we had to do something because here we'd spent all this time and money training these wonderful employees, and we were losing them to hospitals just because they had to leave to do better due to the hours of clinicals or it was interfering with work schedules. And so we came up with this idea to create RAISE, and that stands for Reach, Achieve, Inspire, Support, and Employ. Basically, we wanted to build our own. It was not a new concept. I always shout out to the University of Louisville. They have been an integral partner, and we'd actually already had some of their students with the Traeger Institute, starting with the behavioral model once this idea was kind of formalized. So.
Great. Do either of you want to talk about how RAISE has helped your organization to reduce reliance on external staffing situations? I'm not sure if MCHC had to get travel nurses or any of that, but that was prevalent during the pandemic. So just comment about that.
Actually, on our the RAISE program has been very beneficial as far as retention and recruitment. As you heard our HR director say, you know, for a while we would struggle getting applications for an entry-level position such as a receptionist or housekeeping, you know, or something like that. But now people are looking at Mountain Comp to be able to help them reach the goals that they always had. And so creating this program and opening up these doors for people has helped us on our recruitment and retention. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example of our retention. Just a couple years ago, it was like at 20.4 was our turnover rate, 20.4%. First quarter of this year, it's 2.1. And what I've learned from that, and what we've all learned really, is if you invest in your workforce, if you invest in your people, if you invest and show them that they are important and they're needed and they're wanted, they don't want to leave. You know, they don't want to go anywhere else. Because entering our program, you can enter as a receptionist and become a medical assistant. So if you don't want to stay a medical assistant, then we'll let you be an LPN or an RN and keep moving you on up. And you know, in doing that, it helps fill our gaps so we don't have to go externally as much. Because as we all know, economically, it's a lot cheaper to keep an employee versus hiring a new employee. So it's been instrumental in those benefits for us.
You know, one of the things that reminds me of is when I've done the tour of your facility, a few times that I've been there, I met a dentist, and he was actually from there. He was a kid in that growing up in that community, and then came back to practice in that community. And that's really what we want to see with a lot of these workforce issues, particularly in areas that are difficult to gain, to be attractive. So it's really hard. We're losing a lot of residents in these mountain counties, far eastern, western Kentucky as well. We're losing people. They're going on to the cities because they don't feel like they have the opportunities there. But with the plug-in of our community colleges around, with programs like University of Louisville that are actually partnering with employers, then we're able to expand some of those opportunities. Stephanie, could you talk about the response of the employees that participate in the program so far? Maybe even a success story or two, like just kind of.
Well, there's been so many. We've had a lot. Our first graduating class of medical assistants consisted of 12 people, and all of them graduated, moved on. 4 of them come from medical records. So 4 of them were in base level positions. We've had housekeepers move up, and a lot of employees who just, maybe they had, like the video said, life happened. They had opportunities to go to school when they were younger, but then other things came up. They had children to take care of, families, they had to go back to work. So this opportunity presented to them. One of the employees, she was a single mother.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. She was a single mother who had a young son at home. And she told me, I'm not going to be able to do this. So after a lot of encouragement, she continued the program. She came through. She ended up doing the program. She graduated. She was one of the first completed with all of her work every time. And she got an opportunity to work within 5 minutes from home with a $3 on the hour pay increase. So after the program was over, and like I said, we had 12. I was their clinical instructor. After the program was over, she graduated. She was moving into her position. She came back and she said, I didn't know from one week to the next about groceries. But now, my whole dynamic, my whole life has changed.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And we've heard a lot of those stories. Beanie's heard them as well. I guess I was a little closer. I had I was their clinical instructor, so they were coming to me saying, well, I'm going through a divorce, or my mother just passed away, or something, throughout the whole program. So you watch them go over barriers personally, but you've seen them go over barriers to get their education, whether it be childcare, transportation, finances. So we were able to overcome those barriers and put her in a better place than she ever thought she could do on her own.
It's incredible. So another thing I guess I should note about rural communities, if you don't live in one or you're not aware of this, is that everybody knows everybody. So in these hospitals, these are people who you go to Sunday school with, or these are people who, maybe your grandchild's first grade teacher, or whoever it may be. So everyone really relies on each other, and I think you see that closeness in the response that Stephanie had, is that we want so much, obviously, for our neighbors and our friends, and these are neighbors and friends. It's not just people who are coworkers and you never see them outside of that. Teresa, I noticed on there you said full-time work. They can still get a full work day in. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So our clinics are open more than just the typical 8:30 to 5 days a week. We have clinics that are open till 8 o'clock every night, Monday through Friday, and they're also open on the weekends. So while I don't let them go to school 40 hours a week for free, we work with their schedules to make sure that they get a full payday. And what's been instrumental in this is that these partnerships with the schools have helped us work clinical schedules and educational schedules, so it's not a barrier. So there's still a really good work-to-life balance You still got to go to school, you still got to do the work, but we're working to make it easier and more attainable for all. Because I always joke, while I was getting my master's degree, I had a new child, and I sat every Sunday of my life crying, trying to write a paper. And I've thought now, if I would have just spent that time writing that paper instead of the crying, I'd have got done faster. But, you know, I never wanted anybody to have to struggle the way we all did as adult learners. Thank you all. I've learned that term today. I'm so pleased that I know what to call us now. But anyway, I think that's one of the biggest things, is that we truly work with everybody, and everybody's on board. All the supervisors. It's been a huge morale booster for the whole company, and honestly, and I can say it, everybody's on board. You heard Mahala say she's actually one of the supervisors. Well, she's in the program. And so we're actually currently working with U of L right now to develop the Leadership Institute, because we want to send all of our leaders back to the Leadership Institute. Everybody could benefit, I'm sure. So it's an all-on-board, I guess, mentality right now, and I think that's a huge part of the success.
Yeah. So one of the things, too, that's really interesting about this area is they have, when I've gone to visit there, they have fed me from a place that has wonderful food that's called Cane's Agriculture. What is it?
Community Agricultural Nutritional
Community
Enterprise.
Agricultural Nutritional Enterprise, Cane's, and they're located in an old school. And so the majority of the folks there are people in recovery and reentry who are learning trades such as catering and meal preparation and things like that, culinary training, to be able to serve the community and regain work skills there as they are completing their addiction recovery programs and that sort of thing. And so one of the young men that I met there, so I guess I should back up and say I talked to one of the addiction recovery doctors in the clinic, and he was telling me the story about his brother who just about lost his life to addiction. And so I go over to eat at Cane's, and who is serving me but that brother, and he's going back to school. And so it was so powerful to see how all of those roles are really woven into into the services of that community. Dr. Mitchell, could you talk to us a little bit about the partnership there with the University of Louisville, how that complements the RAISE program goals, and what is unique about that?
The approach that we take at U of L is when MCHC tells us they need something, we work to see what programs that we have and how we can alter those programs to meet their needs. So I met Teresa, I guess about 2 years ago, and she said, I want to accomplish this. And so we have worked diligently over the last few years to ensure that what she needs, that we're able to provide. So it's really important for us. We know the impact that we have on the eastern part of the state without ever asking those students to relocate to Louisville. We want to keep them in their home area so that when they graduate, they're going to stay in their home area. Something that I think is really important with this partnership is Teresa saying, we need these programs, but we're going to provide you the folks to help train them here in their home location. So we can design the programs through U of L, offer portions of them online, but when it comes to the in-person, face-to-face components, MCHC does the training on that aspect because they're the experts in their areas, in their home community. And so much better than Stephanie is much better at taking a group of nursing students and teaching them about the patient populations that they serve in their part of the state than me. I'm here from Louisville, and I serve a very different patient population. So they're going to have a much more enriched experience. So I know where we started with MCHC, where we're at now, and where we're going, really thinking about offering any program that they need, partnering with them to make sure that they have that there in that part of the state. So I'm going to use nursing since that's my context as an example. Most people, if you say, hey, we want to have a nursing program here, most people will say, well, we can't do that. They have to come here and they have to do clinical education. So we started first and said, well, we have an RN to BSN program. And what we can do for you is if you have RNs that want to get their baccalaureate degree, you can send them to us and we'll teach them online and they can do their clinical with you. So that was step one. Step two, now about 1.5 years ago, Teresa said, we need to do a little bit more. And so I said, what about your LPNs? So if you send your LPNs to your local KCTC location, and so in that case it's Southeastern, they go to Southeast, they start their classes towards their ADN, and simultaneously or concurrently they enroll at U of L as visiting students. So once they finish their associate's degree, they have about 2 more semesters and they get their bachelor's degree in nursing. We took it a step further. We did the same thing with our nurse practitioner program. So MCHC currently has 4 nurses that are working towards their nurse practitioner with U of L. They're taking their classes online. They do come to us about 1 day a month to take classes in person, but what they're doing now is something we just started this semester. We're teaching one of those classes there. So instead of having to come in for their health assessment, they're doing their health assessment. One of their employees is working for us part-time and teaching their nurse practitioners. And then in the future, what we're hoping to do is actually have an independent program that can run there for a traditional coming straight out of high school into a BSN program. I could go on and on for a very long time, but that's just an example of where we started, where we're at now, and where we're going in the future.
That's awesome. Stephanie, go ahead and comment.
So as she talked about the clinicals, that was a major point of buy-in for our employees, because your director of nursing and myself, the director of quality, are your clinical instructors now. So it's someone that your employees trust, someone they already know, someone they've seen be loyal to the company, and then in turn, they end up picking up that same persona, and they're loyal to the company, and they trust the program. So it was a major buy-in for our employees. When she talked about expanding the programs and going on to the BSN, that is my next goal for that, because in 2017, when I got in nursing school, I had to go part-time because at the time we didn't have the RAISE program. So I had to go part-time, lose benefits, lose hours. I still made a good enough income to not have financial assistance. So I drew out my retirement to pay for nursing school then. Now I get a full paid education for my BSN through U of L. I get to keep the hours, keep my position as director of nursing or director of quality, and keep these nursing students motivated. If I can do this and I can stay here, then you can too. And also just that buy-in from the employees was so important, and I think that partnership's what helped with that buy-in.
We talk a lot about wraparound services really leading to student success, and this question's not on your list, so I'm going to throw you for a loop. But Teresa, are there any examples of specific help that the organization has given employees that really has made the difference? We talk about, sometimes people are one flat tire away from dropping out.
Well, we make sure that they have no out-of-pocket expenses, so books, everything is covered. One example that I can really give is we actually have 2 employees from Owsley County, Kentucky. Now, if you think Eastern Kentucky is remote, Owsley County's right there with it. But instead of waiting till Benny could build them a program closer to them, and let me say that this program's in Cumberland, which is in Harlan County, 2.5-hour drive for them, they didn't want to pass it up. Right? No, we're terrified something will happen. We want to do this now. So we actually work with them and let them stay in a company apartment on Friday nights just so they can go to school on Saturdays. They do this every week without fail. And so I think, to that instance, we made sure that they could do what they wanted without it costing them. Mm-hmm. And they're probably 2 of our best. Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the loyalty that is built from someone who's had that level of support? So long-term vision, long-term goals for RAISE, and how you see it evolving over the next few years. Benny, if you'll start that and then let Teresa explain about her pulling me into this old, terribly scary movie-ish, Halloween movie-ish old high school building that she took me into. I'll let you talk about that, but if you'll start that conversation.
Well, as most people know, there's a nursing shortage throughout the nation, and it's pretty big. We are growing by leaps and bounds at Mountain Comp, which is, a blessing for all of us, and we feel a blessing for the communities that we serve, because most of our clinics are actually a one-stop shop from head to toe. And our future goal is to be able to have a program to be able to fit every position that would be open. And of course, when, we need nurses, we need medical staff, but on the flip side of that, as the clinics grow, we need administrative staff in order to be able to keep up with everything. So right now we have 16 programs going, and through our partnerships, which our partners, we have a lot of partners that are in this room and that we're very grateful for. They've been fantastic. But my personal goal, I've always, I've managed in retail and a couple of different things, and of course come from education also. My personal goal is I love cross-training. I like if somebody don't show up for work, that's okay. We can keep going. And my personal goal is to have everybody in our clinics, as much as possible, be at least MAs, medical assistant. They're very versatile. They can be used in a lot of different settings. That's my personal goal. But the biggest goal is to be able to make sure that all of our employees have access to be able to fulfill their educational and their career goals and their aspirations. Because I was an adult learner, and I understand the barriers, and we all know what those are. I understand each and every one of them. And as an adult learner, when we get to see somebody, that's employed there, that's housekeeping. And, and they become an MA, they receive that pay increase. And it's like it just starts a fire under them, and they don't want to stop there. But the benefit about the RAISE program is we don't push anybody toward any one program. I mean, if you want to stop at an MA, if you're comfortable with being a medical assistant, that's fine. We will use you. But the sky's the limit. And the great benefit about this is we received a grant from United Healthcare and ACH. It was for $500,000. And I think what we come up with is we can leverage...
every dollar, I can leverage 11 tuition dollars.
Yeah, through our partnerships.
And U of L's grants too.
Yeah, and the grants and the partnerships that we have. So the ultimate goal for us that we're looking for is to continue to expand and be able to have a program that would fulfill all of our needs there, and eventually reaching out regionally also.
And let me say that we're in a company of about 580 employees, and 25% of my workforce is in some pathway right now. And take out of that the people that already are at the levels they're happy at, and then your providers, which is we're at 95 providers right now. That's a pretty substantial amount of employees in some type of upskill pathway. Leslie referred to my scary high school, and it was scary, especially when I graduated many, many years ago. But MCHC was able to buy the campus of the old Whitesburg High School. And there's plans for the buildings, like she mentioned the community kitchen in one, but there were no plans for the gym building. Well, there was a flood, as you all know, in eastern Kentucky in 2022, and we had just designated a room as a training center for the beginning of Heather and I's partnership there, and it flooded completely. And it was devastating at that time. I never thought I'd see the other side of that flood, but we did. And through that, we discovered, wow, we had this gym building with no designs on it. And so this is where I take everybody to tour. We're going to hopefully, and I told Heather from the start, from my first met her, I said, my goal is to put a cardinal on that building, because we were a Yellow Jackets, and let's face it, cardinal will look better there than a Yellow Jacket. Yeah, but anyway, and so I hope I'm getting closer to that goal, but we're turning the Whitesburg High School Gymnasium building into an education center, and we hope the first partner we have is the University of Louisville School of Nursing. So that's what we're doing. And Leslie, you'll have to come back and see it, because we actually painted it for the Heritage Festival. Small towns have Heritage Festivals, and so everybody comes home, and I wanted that open so everybody could tour it, so they could see the plans of what was coming, and kind of restored it back to some of its former glory. So that's where we're at there.
Excellent.
The other thing I'll say about that building is that when you go in, the first thing that you see sitting in this gym floor is this weird-looking igloo tent. And so I'm like, what is that for, you know? And so definitely mountain people are innovative with how they use resources. We don't leave things empty. We don't leave things inactive. And so one of the things, in addition to that being a training building, is that is going to be an emergency shelter with a lot of those tents there that they can pop in a second's notice. And if they ever get another devastating flood like they have then, they can access that gym to be able to house families in these tents that can be modular and made into almost like little family hubs and little family tents. It's just incredible. And you all did use that gym, right, as a command center for distribution for water and food and things like that for the area. So it's incredible. Okay, the last thing I will ask before we go to questions really quickly is, Heather, are you all tracking data relative to this particular project of students? Like, can you isolate your data?
So due to the timing, we are tracking data. We just don't have data that we can produce yet because the students are just finishing their pathways. We do know that the vast majority of those that start in their homes plan to stay in their homes. So we get the information about intention to stay, but we have to wait until 1 year after graduation for where are you employed at, are you staying at those areas. We do know that the students that are coming to our programs that are working full-time are very successful. We do not have a high level of attrition. I attribute a lot of that, of course, to the work that Mountain Comp does to support their students as they're going through the program, but also the flexibility that we really embrace when it comes to students. Working adults need a lot of flexibility. And so when somebody says, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish out the semester, before you talk about that, what do you need? What do you need to be able to finish out the semester? Do you need to take an extra couple of weeks, an extra month, an extra 2 months? Don't let this one assignment be the barrier. Don't let this one thing be the barrier. And so we see a very low level of attrition because we offer so much flexibility for these students. And we do our classes in most cases in 8-week terms so that they can just get it done. And then, okay, I need to take next term off, but then I'll come back the following term. So we don't have, because most take 1, maybe 2 classes a term. They haven't finished with the programs yet, but we do see preliminary that there is a lot of success.
And I assume you all track it from a workforce side too, human resources side?
We do.
So, okay.
Yeah, we track data. I mean, key performance indicators. We look at.
Put your mic up there, Ben.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I always forget this. Yeah, I think we've lost 1 employee from the program since its start, and they actually just changed jobs. It was a family thing. They changed jobs, and that's the only one that we've had so far that dropped the program. But yeah, we're able to keep up with them. Their supervisors check in on them. I get to talk to them on a regular basis, and so does Steph. So. We just want to make sure that everybody is getting the care they need, they're getting the attention they need, and all the materials they may need. So, and again, you know, you have to look at this. This is zero cost to the employee. You know, so we do ask them at times to sign a contract. It's an agreement. It's like 1 to 2 years, depending upon what program they go into. Which, you know, if you'll make me a nurse practitioner and take me from $18 an hour, which is our entry-level pay, to a 6-figure income within just a few years, I'll give you 2 years, you know, out of that, any day of the week. I'm like Steph, that was never offered to me, so, you know, I didn't have that opportunity. But we see the change that it makes, not only in our employees, but our employees' families, and in the local economy. You know, I'm also an elected official back at home, so you hear politicians all the time say it's a win-win. which most of the time it's not. The RAISE program truly, we feel, is a win-win for everybody.
Go ahead.
And I wanted to clarify something on the high school building and the plans. It's not just for MCHC. We want this to be a regional offering because I want to help everybody. It's my home. We want people to be able to stay there and to succeed. And we might not be able to employ everybody there, but the hospitals can. The other clinics can. So it's not about competition. It's about working together to meet the needs. And I just wanted to I don't think I spelled that out as well, but and I would love to be able to figure out a way so everybody in the region can go to school without worrying about financial burdens. Maybe that's the next problem we work on after we get the school up and running. But again, I guess that's our far-reaching goal, is we want to have the University of Louisville and higher education in Eastern Kentucky too.
Excellent. Okay, so now we'll go to our questions. If any of you all have specific questions, I don't know if we have we have 3 minutes, so we don't have very much time for questions. But yeah.
Where do you get your funding?
Your funding.
We received a grant, is what actually started it off. U of L began the process. Of course, we got grant funding through them. And actually, the 4 nurse practitioners right now that we have in there are full ride scholarships. And they're doing phenomenally well. So the funding source was U of L helping us write the grant. We received the grant from ACH, like I said earlier, for $500,000, which we're able to leverage $11 to $12 for every $1 that we receive because of our partnerships. And, at times we do have, there's times when the company does have to fund some, and that's fine. We're willing to do that because, again, the return on investment for us is amazing, to see the change in our employees and what it does for our company as well.
And just to elaborate on the grants that Benny had referred to, so both our nurse practitioner program and then our RN to BSN or LPN to BSN now, both received last year HRSA grants. So the nurse practitioner program got $2.4 million, and then my program I got $4 million. And so that is meant not just exclusively for MCHC employees, but students all across Kentucky to go back to school and not have to worry about tuition, and they receive stipends. And
looks like we got a couple of minutes. Anybody else? Okay, well, let's give our panelists a hand.